Hello fam, long time no see. So I actually am going to be a total of 4 states in 3 weeks. I live in Minnesota. I went to Illinois last week for my cousin's baby shower. I am going to Boston this weekend, and then I'm going to San Francisco next weekend. And the thing that's fun about this trip is we have absolutely no idea what we're gonna do. We are literally flying by the seat of our pants, like the title of this video. We have no official tickets on a plane. What we're gonna do is a buddy pass. So what that means is that if they have open seats on a plane, we get those seats for really cheap. And then once we get to Boston, we have no hotel, we have no Airbnb, we have nothing lined up for a living situation. We have no plans on what we're gonna do or where we're gonna go in that area. So this is very different for me. I am very much a planner and I like to know what's gonna happen and what to expect. And so this is definitely taking me out of my comfort zone. We will leave in about 2 hours. So we'll head to the airport around 5:45 p.m. and then we will take off at 8:15 and land around 11 in East Coast time. Another thing that I'm really excited for is that I've never been into a lounge before. So because she has like a buddy pass and she travels a lot, she has lounge access. So we're gonna do that as well. I am very excited, but very nervous. So wish us luck.
Girl, the lounge life is for me. Good drinks, good food, scouting for my future sea-level husband, you know the drill. We touched down in Boston, and on the plane, Anise had secured a room at the Omni Parker Hotel, which I'll tell you more about later. One detail you'll notice is that there is no 13th floor. Due to superstition, many older hotels do not have a 13th floor option. We broke out our amazing snack collection and had a good night of girl chats. The next morning, we got up and got ready and went to Faneuil Hall and Quincy Market for breakfast. It's a marketplace made up of 4 separate indoor markets. George Washington toasted our nation's first birthday here, and many of the original American Revolution movements were held here. We were enjoying our peaceful breakfast until tragedy struck. Anise was talking, and her hand hit her coffee over, and it fell to the level below. Thankfully, a group of children wearing rain ponchos walked by and were protected from the splash upon impact. She felt terrible, as it was an accident, but needless to say, I trolled for a minute before I grabbed my coffee, and we bounced out of there. One thing I love about the East Coast is how incredible the preserved architecture is. We loved strolling neighborhoods and looking at the different houses and Halloween decorations. We ended up stopping at Beacon Hill Books and Cafe. It's a new 4-story curated bookstore in the heart of the Beacon Hill neighborhood. Every level has a theme. So this is the children's level, complete with toys, a train set, and a reading area. Next, we descended to the young adults level, which was filled with many classics, as well as some angsty and odd titles. I found my way over to the fashion and architecture section, which had beautiful visuals and a fantastic variety of authors and options. The main level was a mix of adult fiction and nonfiction and gift items, and the lowest level was a cafe that will be opening soon that had cookbooks available. We wanted to shop, so we stopped by Covet on Charles Street. They had many unique pieces in their curated collection, as well as consignment options. To this day, I regret not buying this bag. Anise ended up buying this animal print cardigan and wearing it that night to dinner. Established in 1848, the Boston Public Library was the first public library to lend out books. It's expanded throughout the city over time and now has 25 branches. Its design and architecture has won it numerous awards. Anise and I discussed a term called third spaces. These are areas outside of home and work where you can go and be social, creative, and have an experience outside of your norm. I think libraries are a great example of this, a place for free where you can meet with friends, escape into a book, and view incredible art. By this point, we were both a bit famished, so we stopped by Cava for lunch and then explored the Back Bay neighborhood. That evening, we got dressed up and went out for drinks and a fancy meal. The French Quarter had received numerous good reviews and did not disappoint. The food was phenomenal, and we could not recommend our waiter Matthew enough. Matthew had recommended a cannoli shop nearby, but when we walked over, it was closed early. We met a girl named Alyssa who told us about a different cannoli shop she also liked and invited us to walk with her to check it out. One thing I loved about Boston was the friendliness and knowledge of the locals. It really reminded me of when I visited Ireland. We spent the evening eating cannolis, talking, and swinging on the outdoor swings at the Lawn on D.
Hello friends, I thought I would check in. It is 12:30 in the morning, Saturday morning. So we've been here a little over 24 hours. We got in last night on East Coast time at 11:30, so we've already experienced so much in the city in one day. I thought I would do a little check-in and give an update because, as I had said in my intro, this is very much a fly by the seat of our pants kind of trip. So what we ended up doing was I had a buddy pass through Anise, and we basically were working off of where there was availability on the plane. We ended up making it on a flight last night at 8:15. We did not have a hotel set up, so while we were on the plane, Anise actually booked it through like the airline Wi-Fi, and so we settled in Omni Parker House, which is in downtown Boston. It is the oldest hotel in the history of our nation of the United States, and it is just wild. From the moment we got here, we've had great service. A doorman took our bags and he brought us up, and he gave us just a rundown of some great places to go locally. He was telling us the history. There's been lots of diplomats and presidents who have stayed here, so we really lucked out because what we were going off of was the fact that they needed to fill rooms. So basically we chose which of the seats in the airplane that were open needed to be filled. We stood basically in a queue for that. And then once we were looking at the hotel options, we looked at what rooms were open. And we did go on we got a huge major discount because they needed to fill the rooms anyway. But we also did get a nice room. But it's actually very nice for a very old hotel. It has good air conditioning, good water pressure, good heat for water, like a lot of the things that I usually would expect out of an older hotel, or even some of the newer ones, aren't as nice as this hotel is. So if you're coming to Boston or planning a trip, this is a great place, but I will say outside of the last minute rates, it's like 3 times what we paid for it. So maybe think about doing it as a last minute risky booking, kind of being open to whatever's available. I really just feel at home, kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier. It doesn't feel like a vacation in a sense that it doesn't feel like I'm in a foreign area. I feel very comfortable. Anise said the same thing. It's just very homey. And I've been to places where I felt comfortable before, but I've never just felt like I could go and walk the streets and be safe in a city. And it has a very particular feeling along with it. So I will check in the morning either through visuals and telling you guys what we're doing, or I might check in here and do a little intro for the day.
We took the next morning slow. We slept in and took our time getting ready for the day. We had a few different options. Alyssa, who we'd met the night before, asked if we wanted to walk with her and her dog in the Cape Cod area. We discussed taking a train to Salem, and we could also stay in downtown Boston. We ultimately decided to go get bagels and coffee at the Thinking Cup, and then we took a train to Salem. Shout out to Guy Fieri. I'm a major fan. The fall colors were beautiful. I was able to edit content on the train, and the people watching in terms of Halloween costumes was top tier. We didn't really think about how crowded it would be once we got there, so we basically roamed the streets, looked at important historical and pop culture locations, and then made our way back to downtown via the train. Once back in downtown, the pace of the last 48 hours definitely caught up with us. We walked to dinner at Sweet Green and basically sat in silence. I can't describe it any other way than both of our minds needed a break from planning, keeping conversation, and being on. Thankfully, we both needed that silence, so it was serene instead of awkward. Side note, watch how much air I catch on this jump. Get the NBA on the line. We did rally enough to go to the Last Hurrah, the bar in our hotel. We had espresso martinis, and because they are the original creators of the Boston cream pie, we had to try one. We're back in the hotel room, night 2, and I wanted to just do an update talking about kind of the pros and cons of going on a trip in which you don't have anything set in place. So far, I have found that day 1 yesterday when I checked in, I think I was still in the, like, everything about this is great. And then today was a little more realistic because we're kind of winding down. We're going to leave tomorrow and go home. And so being able to get everything done that we want to get done just is realistically not possible on this one trip. And I knew that we weren't going to be able to do everything on our list, but I think one con I found with not having a plan in place or not knowing day to day what you want to do or having reservations done is that you kind of miss out on opportunities, or there are lots of things you don't think about in preparation. One of those things being today, as you saw, we went to Salem, and Salem itself as a town is very interesting in general, but like the homes are very cute and it's very fall festive. But we didn't think about the fact that it's October, and of course it's like spooky season and people are probably excited to be there to do the museum and tours and things like that. And so we spent a couple hours, getting to a train, walking there, going to Salem, and then getting back on the train and coming back. And because of that, we missed out on a lot of things on our list that we could have done in Boston, like proper downtown where we're staying. And that's kind of a disappointment. And then things like reservations, as I was mentioning before, when you don't have a reservation, then there's a lot of restaurants or places you wanted to try that were on your list that are highly rated that you have to miss out on because you can't get in, or there are no seats, or they're booked out, things like that. So I would say in my summary of this trip so far, the pros of flying by the seat of your pants are that you can sleep in, you can take things slow, there's not a lot of pressure involved, and you can kind of just go any way that you want to go, and everything is kind of open to you. But I would say the cons of it, and another pro is that it's also cheaper in the long run in terms of flights and hotels and kind of last minute things like that, because they're, as I said yesterday, they're trying to fill spots. But I would say the con of it is sometimes there's too many options, or doors get closed on you for things that you would have liked to do because there wasn't kind of forethought into either what could be going on during the weekend that we're here, or we didn't have the forethought of planning and reserving, so things are closed down tomorrow because tomorrow is Sunday when we go home. And so we still have a couple of things on our list that we'll do tomorrow, but we had to cross off a lot. And as someone who likes to just have a full experience, I would say I would in the future like a trip where maybe I have a couple more days, like I do a 4-day trip instead, and a couple of those days are planned and a couple of them are free, so that we can have relaxed days to recharge, and then we can have planned days to really get through all the things that we wanted to get through. One thing I knew that we would be doing a lot is walking. If you're coming to Boston, I would highly recommend getting comfortable shoes. Both days we have walked about 10 miles and almost like 17,000 steps. And granted, we're not locals, so we're not just staying, around the neighborhood. We are walking out blocks and miles across town, but it is definitely a city built for walking, kind of like New York, as I had compared it to yesterday. So I would say bring water, bring walking shoes. But I will say overall, it has been a great trip. I've had a great time with Anise, and just
kind of going with the flow and doing something different and trying it out. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you at my next trip.
On our final morning, we rose early and walked to the Boston Common and Boston Public Gardens. After our photo shoot, we went to a small restaurant called Mike and Patty's for breakfast sandwiches. We had breakfast in the Common and headed to the airport to head home. I just wanted to end this vlog by saying I'm so grateful to have a friend who is adventurous. Someone in the same life stage as me who enjoys getting out of their comfort zone and trying new things. Thank you, Anise, for an incredible whirlwind of a trip. And for watching until the end, here's a little gift.
What's a girl gotta do to get a coffee around here?